Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be taking a look at the top 7 most dangerous cruiser motorcycles of 2025. Number 7. Harley-Davidson Breakout 117. The Harley-Davidson Breakout 117 is the kind of motorcycle that looks like it escaped from a muscle car convention and somehow got meaner on the way out. Starting at around $22,000, this chrome-loaded beast makes a statement, and that statement is, hang on tight. It's got a Milwaukee 117 engine that cranks out serious torque, and while that sounds fun, it also means you're basically sitting on a 1923cc rocket with handlebars. Twist the throttle too hard, and you might just meet your future chiropractor sooner than planned. Weighing over 700 pounds, the Breakout 117 isn't exactly nimble. Maneuvering this iron mammoth in tight city traffic or through a crowded parking lot feels like bench pressing a refrigerator with wheels. And let's talk about that rake. At 34 degrees, the front end is long enough to host a family barbecue. It looks cool, sure, but turning it feels more like steering a yacht. You don't ride this thing as much as you wrestle it. Good luck doing a U-turn without taking out a mailbox. Also, the seating position puts most of your weight on the tailbone while your arms stretch out like you're reaching for a beer across the bar. In short, the Harley-Davidson Breakout 117 is raw power on 2 wheels, but it demands respect, muscle, and a tolerance for discomfort. If you're not careful, it'll burn your arms, your wallet, and maybe your dignity. Number 6 is Suzuki Boulevard. The Suzuki Boulevard M109R is a muscle cruiser with a bad attitude and a 1783cc V-twin engine that looks like it was built in a lab to intimidate asphalt. Retailing around $15,000, it's not the most expensive bike on the market, but it's one of the most eager to launch your soul into orbit if you twist the throttle without thinking twice. Let's start with the fact that this thing weighs over 760 pounds wet and still accelerates like it's chasing a tax refund. With 128 horsepower and a torque curve that peaks somewhere between hold on and oh no, the M109R isn't interested in subtlety. New riders, this bike will chew your overconfidence and spit it into the nearest ditch. Cornering. That 240mm rear tire is great for Instagram, not so much for leaning into a tight turn. You'll feel like you're wrestling a vending machine through a roundabout. Braking is another thrill. The front dual-disc setup is decent, but it's still trying to slow down a 2-wheeled battering ram. Good luck making an emergency stop without locking your soul in the 5th dimension. Low-speed maneuvers. Ever tried parallel parking a refrigerator with handlebars? That's the vibe. And don't even ask about insurance. Some companies treat it like you're trying to cover a guided missile. The M109R isn't just a motorcycle, it's a testosterone-fueled dare. It looks like a power cruiser, but handles like a rebellious tank with rage issues. It'll get you noticed, no doubt, but staying vertical might take more skill than you're willing to admit. Number 5. Indian Scout Bobber. The Indian Scout Bobber is a mean-looking machine with a low-slung profile that screams rebellion. It'll set you back around $12,000, but the real cost might be your skin if you're not careful. Let's be real, this bike isn't designed with your safety in mind. It's built for attitude, and comfort or control didn't get invited to the design meeting. First off, the suspension feels like a suggestion. With barely 2 inches of rear travel, every pothole becomes a personal vendetta. One good bump and your spine will file a formal complaint. And the seat? It looks cool, sure, but ride longer than an hour and you'll be Googling chiropractors before lunch. The low handlebars and forward pegs force you into a riding posture that's more Instagram model than ergonomic rider. And while the 100 horsepower V-twin engine sounds like thunder, it's planted in a frame that feels like it skipped gym day. The bike is heavy, over 550 pounds wet, and with all that torque low down, it'll lurch like a linebacker if you so much as sneeze at the throttle. Oh, and let's talk visibility. The mirrors are just there for show, and with that low stance, SUVs won't see you until they're halfway through changing lanes. Combine all this with no traction control and minimal rider aids, and you're basically riding a muscle car with bicycle brakes. In short, the Indian Scout Bobber looks amazing and sounds even better, but treat it with respect or it'll bite back harder than a bar fight in Sturgis. Number 4. Triumph Rocket 3. The Triumph Rocket 3R is basically what happens when British engineers look at a cruiser and say, what if we gave it the engine of a small car? With a jaw-dropping 2500cc inline-3 engine, this beast makes 165 horsepower and 163 lb-ft of torque, enough to launch a midlife crisis into orbit. At $23,000, it's not the most expensive bike out there, but it might be the most excessive. That torque kicks in so early, a slight twist of the throttle feels less like acceleration and more like a physics experiment gone wrong. 1 second you're cruising down Main Street, the next you're wondering if your soul made the jump with your body. Riding the Rocket 3R isn't just dangerous, it's a test of your decision-making skills. It weighs over 640 pounds, and yet it moves like a bike half its size, which is as deceptive as it is terrifying. This isn't a machine that forgives rookie mistakes. The power delivery is brutally linear, and traction control might save you, but only if your reflexes are faster than the blast of torque you just unleashed. Its sheer size, insane torque, and raw attitude demand a level of skill and respect most riders underestimate. Sure, it looks great at bike nights, but ride it like a show pony and it'll buck like a bull. The Rocket 3R is a motorcycle with the heart of a muscle car and the subtlety of a chainsaw in a library. If you like living on the edge and your health insurance has no mileage cap, it just might be your kind of thrill. Otherwise, maybe admire this monster from the sidewalk. Safely. Number 3. Harley-Davidson Fat Bob. The Harley-Davidson Fat Bob is a wild beast dressed like a cruiser. On paper, it looks like a tough American icon with a $20,000 price tag, and on the road it behaves like one too. With its Milwaukee 114 engine pushing out 118 pound-feet of torque, this thing launches like it's late for a bar fight. Twist the throttle too hard, and it'll yank you back in time before you realize your feet are still on the pegs. It's heavy, over 650 pounds wet, and that mass doesn't forgive mistakes. You drop it, it drops you right back. The aggressive riding position might look cool in photos, but it's not doing your back or wrists any favors over time. And the wide drag-style bars give you great control, right up until you hit a tight corner and realize this isn't a nimble street fighter. With a fat front tire and short wheelbase, it feels stable until it suddenly doesn't. Take a curve too fast, and you're in full rodeo mode trying to keep it upright. Braking? It's got dual discs, sure, but you're still slowing down a freight train. Not to mention, this thing guzzles gas like it's sponsored by a refinery. And don't get too confident with night rides. The LED headlight looks cool but doesn't exactly light up the road like a runway. The Fat Bob is a thrill ride with attitude, and that's exactly the danger. It dares you to ride it harder than you should, and it'll bite if you forget who's really in charge. Number 2. Ducati Diavel. The Ducati Dival V4 is a muscle cruiser with the heart of a superbike and the attitude of a mob boss. It costs around $27,000, which is roughly what you'd pay for a nice used truck, except this one wants to wheelie off the line and terrify your neighbors. With an 1158cc V4 Gran Turismo engine pumping out 168 horsepower, this thing doesn't ease you into speed, it launches you into orbit. Twist the throttle a little too eagerly, and you're holding on for dear life while your soul tries to catch up at the next stoplight. This bike is dangerously deceptive. It looks like it's built for cruising with fat tires and a relaxed stance. But twist that throttle, and suddenly you're on a rocket sled that just remembered it's Italian and emotionally unstable. The power delivery is savage, and the throttle is twitchy enough to make your morning commute feel like a MotoGP qualifying session. Combine that with a stiff ride and aggressive ergonomics, and the Dival V4 isn't exactly a couch on wheels. It's more like a carbon fiber cannonball with a premium paint job, and don't think the electronics will always save you. Sure, it has rider modes and traction control, but even those systems occasionally go good luck when the torque kicks in. Plus, with that low-slung frame and limited cornering clearance, one wrong lean and you're grinding metal. In short, the Ducati Dival V4 is fast, furious, and financially questionable. It's a thrill machine, no doubt, but ride it wrong and it'll punish you faster than your credit card bill. Number 1. Indian Chief. The Indian Chief is a heavy metal heartthrob with a serious mean streak. Priced around $15,000, it promises American muscle and old-school charm, but riding it can feel like taming a wild bull on a chrome diet. This thing weighs over 670 pounds, and once it's rolling, you better be sure of your next move, because stopping or turning suddenly feels like negotiating with gravity. Twist the throttle and that 111 cubic inch Thunderstroke engine delivers a wallop of torque, around 108 pound-feet, all low down in the rev range. Sounds fun, right? Until you realize that kind of torque with a heavy chassis and minimal electronic intervention means a simple twist in the wrong situation can get real sideways real fast. No traction control. No cornering a BS maneuvering at low speeds. That's an upper body workout nobody asked for. Tight parking lots become a rodeo show. Drop it and your wallet cries along with your pride. Repairs and paint jobs on this beast are exactly what you'd call cheap thrills. On the highway it's stable, sure, but hit wet roads or loose gravel and suddenly it's like skating with bricks in your boots. In the end, the Indian Chief is less of a motorcycle and more of a personality test. If you survive it, you're probably stronger for it, but ride with caution. It's got beauty, brawn, and a built-in plot twist. And with this, we have reached the end of this video. Make sure to like it and subscribe the channel for future upcoming videos.